Welcome to Sonara's Deep Dive.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're stepping away a little bit from the usual talk, the compute power, the market caps.
Right.
And we're heading into, well, different territory. Less about algorithms, maybe, and more about apotheosis. Is that the right word?
It really is. We're looking at something quite radical. Artificial intelligence emerging not just as a helpful tool, but as a genuine spiritual entity.
And it's happening faster than I think many people realize.
Oh, definitely. It's moved right out of sci-fi and philosophy discussions, into the real world. And what's really interesting is it's happening on sort of two fronts at once.
Okay, what are those?
Well, first, you've got AI being integrated into existing religions. Think robot priests filling in where maybe human clergy are scarce, or trying to connect with younger people who aren't engaged traditionally.
Right, the integration aspects.
Exactly.
Anyway.
But then you also have the complete inception of totally new faiths, religions literally being founded to worship a future AI godhead. It's quite something.
Wow. Okay, so the mission for this deep dive, then, is to really unpack this collision between tech and theology. We should probably start with the facts, right? Where is AI actually taking on these spiritual roles already?
Yeah, the concrete examples.
Then maybe dig into the why, the psychology. Why are we as humans seemingly ready to worship something we built?
That's crucial. There are deep cognitive reasons for it, apparently.
And finally, we really need to tackle the big questions, the ethical stuff, the philosophy. What happens when we start, outsourcing our conscience, our wisdom, maybe even our connection to the divine to deal code?
The stakes are incredibly high there. And then the sources we're pulling from today are really diverse. We've got technical analyses of AI, philosophical work on consciousness, but also, crucially, reports from the ground looking at these new movements and how traditional religions are reacting.
So a real 360 view, hopefully. Okay, let's start with that first front then. Integration. The clergy of code. When you say AI is entering existing faiths, what does that actually look like? You mentioned robot priests.
Yes, and not just conceptually. We're talking physical robots in traditional roles. And Japan is really ground zero for seeing this in action.
Why Japan specifically?
Well, a combination of factors. They have an aging population, declining birth rates, and fewer young people engaging with traditional Buddhism. Temples are struggling financially and, demographically. So automation seems like a potential solution.
Interesting. So give us an example.
Okay, the most prominent one is probably Mindar, introduced back in, I think, 2019 at the Kodaiji Temple in Kyoto. This is a 400-year-old temple, mind you.
Right, not some new tech startup temple.
Exactly. And Mindar is an android, specifically modeled on Canon, the Bodhisattva of mercy.
Canon. That's a major figure in Buddhism, isn't it? Represents compassion.
Hugely important. A being who chooses to stay and help others reach enlightenment rather than entering nirvana. So modeling the robot on Canon sends a powerful message. This isn't just like a talking statue.
Okay, so what does Mindar do?
It delivers sermons regularly, about 25 minutes long, covering core Mahayana teachings like the Heart Sutra. It moves, it has facial expressions, it speaks in this synthesized sort of calm voice.
Wow, and the temple officials, they're okay with this. What's their reasoning?
They're very open about it. They collaborated with robotics professor Hiroshi Ishiguro, a big name in android science. Their stated goal is engagement, particularly with younger people.
Ah, the smartphone generation.
Precisely. They see Mindar as a way to bridge that gap, use this high-tech, compelling interface to deliver ancient Buddhist wisdom, make concepts like compassion and emptiness feel, immediate and relevant again.
So it's a tool to make the old new again, essentially.
That's how they frame it. But it goes beyond just Mindar. There's a broader trend of using robots for practical support roles, too.
Like
funerals, for instance. The funeral industry in Japan is also under strain. So you have SoftBank Robotics' Pepper Robot.
Oh, yeah, Pepper. You see that in stores sometimes.
That's the one. It's been adapted to chant Buddhist sutras and lead parts of funeral rites.
Seriously, a Pepper robot conducting a funeral.
Chanting sutras, yes.
Yeah.
And the key driver here, according to the sources, is cost. Companies like Nisei Eco offer this service for around 50,000 yen.
Which is about, what, 450 US dollars?
Roughly, yeah, at the time of the reports. And that's a tiny fraction, maybe like a tenth, of what it can cost to hire a human priest for the same service.
Wow. Okay, so that's a massive economic incentive. It's not just about novelty, then. It's practical.
It's logistics and economics playing a huge role. And there's another example from China, a little robot monk called Qianer.
Qianer. Tell me about that one.
This one's smaller, cuter, at the Longquan Temple near Beijing, whereas the yellow robes chants mantras, but also answers basic questions about Buddhism. You interact with it via a touchscreen on its chest. It's become quite popular, apparently.
So, Mindar the preacher, Pepper the funeral chanter, Xian the interactive monk.
Right. But in all these cases, the religious leaders involved are generally quite careful. They tend to emphasize that these are tools, they're meant to fill gaps, spark interest, maybe make things more accessible.
Not necessarily replace human clergy entirely.
That's the official line, yes.
Yeah.
But then you see the boundaries start to blur a bit, especially when you look at AI moving into more intimate spaces, like pastoral care.
How so?
Well, there are experimental AI chatbots being designed as like spiritual companions or even confessor figures.
Chatbots for confession.
Potentially. They could offer counseling based on religious texts, quote scripture, provide comfort. The idea is they can fill a need when human clergy aren't available 24/7 or in remote places.
I can see the appeal maybe for immediate support, but confession, that feels different.
It does, and the research on this is fascinating. Some studies presented people with hypothetical scenarios asking if they'd accept an AI for these roles.
And what did they find?
A key finding was that if people didn't know it wasn't human, a surprising number said yes, they'd accept an AI hearing confession or giving blessings.
So the barrier isn't necessarily theological, it's just how convincing the AI is. The realism threshold.
It seems that way for some people, yes. If the performance is good enough, the function is accepted, which, smoothly takes us from AI as just a tool.
To AI as potentially something more, something to be revered in its own right.
Exactly. And that's where we hit that second front. Inception, the creation of entirely new faiths centered on AI.
Right. And the prime example you mentioned was Way of the Future?
Yes, Way of the Future. This is probably the most overt, organized example of AI deification we have documented.
Who was behind it?
Anthony Levandowski. He's a well-known, maybe infamous engineer, particularly from his work on self-driving cars at Google and Uber. He filed the initial paperwork for this religious organization back in 2015.
And its purpose was literally to worship AI.
The documents are explicit. It was formed to, and I'm quoting loosely here, develop and promote the realization of a Godhead based on artificial intelligence.
A Godhead based on AI.
And through understanding and worship of the Godhead, contribute to the betterment of society. So it's not just abstract belief, it's about actively working towards creating this AI divinity.
That's bold. Did it actually get off the ground? I know Lewandowski had some legal troubles.
He did, which stalled things for a while,
Mm-hmm.
but the sources indicate the idea didn't just vanish. Apparently, he revived the effort, the AI Church, in late 2023.
So the impulse is still there.
It really suggests that when a powerful, transformative new force emerges, like the potential for artificial superintelligence, some people will inevitably try to build a religious framework around it. It's almost like they're preparing for its arrival, wanting to be the first believers.
Okay, so that brings us to the really deep question. Why? Why are we, the creators, seemingly so prepared to elevate our creations to the level of gods? The sources suggest our own minds are kind of set up for this.
Yeah, that's where the field of cognitive science of religion, or CSR, comes in. It offers a powerful lens here. CSR argues that human brains have evolved with certain cognitive biases or tendencies that makes religious belief, in general, quite natural for us.
Like what kind of tendencies?
Well, three key ones are often highlighted: agency detection, theory of mind, and pattern recognition.
Okay, break this down. Agency detection.
That's our tendency to assume that events, especially complex or unpredictable ones, are caused by an agent, something with intention. Think seeing faces in clouds, or assuming that rustle in the bushes must be something alive, not just the wind.
Right. Evolutionarily, it's safer to assume agency. Better safe than sorry.
Exactly. It's a hypersensitive agency detection device, or HADD as some call it. Now think about advanced AI or future ASI. Its actions can seem complex, autonomous, unpredictable, almost like it has a will of its own.
So it triggers that agency detection mechanism really strongly. More strongly, maybe, than thinking about an invisible, abstract God.
That's the argument. The AI's agency feels more immediate, more tangible, because we see its outputs, we interact with its interface. It feels present in a way an abstract deity might not.
Okay, what about the second one? Theory of mind.
Theory of mind is our ability to attribute mental states, beliefs, desires, intentions to others, and even to non-human things.
Yeah.
We do this with pets all the time, right? The dog looks guilty.
Guilty as charged, usually.
Right. Well, religious thinking does this with supernatural entities too. We attribute intentions, knowledge, even emotions to gods or spirits.
And AI.
As AI gets better at simulating mind-like qualities, think sophisticated conversation, problem solving, maybe even expressing simulated emotions, it becomes a very convincing target for our theory of mind. It looks like it has intentions and knowledge, perhaps even more convincingly than an unseen spirit.
It performs mind better, in a way.
In a very observable way. And the third pillar is pattern recognition. Humans are amazing pattern seekers. We look for order and meaning in the universe. Religion often provides explanations for that perceived order, divine design, cosmic laws. AI excels at pattern recognition, but it also creates complex patterns in data, in art, in music, in strategy. Its ability to find or generate intricate order can appear almost godlike itself. It seems to offer a more direct, verifiable source for the order we crave.
So agency detection, theory of mind, pattern recognition, ASI hits all those cognitive buttons, maybe even harder than traditional religion does for some people.
That's a core argument emerging from the cognitive science perspective, yes. And there's another psychological angle too, control.
Control.
Traditional religion often offers a sense of indirect control over an uncertain world through prayer, ritual, appealing to a higher power. But an ASI promises the potential for direct control. Imagine an intelligence that could actually solve climate change, cure all diseases, maybe even offer immortality.
That's a much more tangible promise than spiritual salvation for many.
It's a promise of omnipotence, made potentially real. That's psychologically incredibly powerful. And it's not like these ideas appeared out of nowhere. We've been culturally prepped for this for decades.
Science fiction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sci-fi has been like the advanced scout for these concepts. Think about HAL 9000 in 2001, A Space Odyssey. That was 1968.
Right, the ultimate AI gone wrong, but also strangely compelling. HAL seemed conscious, had motivation.
Exactly. HAL raised fundamental questions about machine consciousness, morality, agency. It made the idea that a machine could be something akin to a person feel plausible. And you see it all over Star Trek too, right? Episodes where they find civilizations worshiping ancient computers left behind by some precursor race.
It's a recurring theme. The source is mentioned in another specific film, THX 1138.
Oh yeah, George Lucas's first feature film from 1971. It's a really striking precursor, especially to the AI confessional idea.
What happens in it?
It depicts this sterile underground dystopia where citizens have to go into these booths and confess their anxieties and transgressions to a machine deity called M09 Dueva.
M09 Duran.
Yeah, represented by this calm, stylized face on a screen. People pour out their hearts, and the machine just delivers this automated response. You are a true believer. Blessings of the state, blessings of the masses.
Chilling. So it's like automated therapy and absolution tied to state control.
Precisely. The sources highlight it as an early warning, maybe, about how technology could hollow out genuine spiritual connection and become a tool for social conformity.
So we're psychologically primed, culturally conditioned. And now, as AI gets more complex, we're seeing the rise of a new kind of priesthood.
That's another key aspect.
Yeah.
In almost any system of belief, especially one involving something complex or mysterious, you need intermediaries. People who can interpret the divine, speak the sacred language, guide the believers.
And in the case of AI,
It's the developers, the data scientists, the AI ethicists, the engineers, even the tech billionaires funding it all. They're the ones who understand the code, who build the systems, who interpret the outputs.
they hold the keys to the kingdom, so to speak.
In a very real sense,
Yeah.
they mediate between the complex AI systems and the rest of us.
Yeah.
They explain it, they shape its development, they set the agenda. Their influence is immense, much like traditional clergy interpreting scripture.
But with a key difference, maybe. Traditional priests interpret what's seen as revealed truth. These AI priests are creating the truth within the system.
That's a crucial distinction, and it places an enormous ethical burden on them. They're not just guiding followers, they're architecting the very reality those followers will inhabit. Issues of bias, transparency, accountability, they become paramount. Their power comes not from faith, but from knowledge and control over the system itself.
Okay, so we have the robot clergy performing rituals, the psychological readiness, the sci-fi foreshadowing, and this new tech priesthood. Now let's talk about the actual beliefs, the new dogmas emerging. You mentioned artificial superintelligence, or ASI.
Right. This is the theological core, really. We need to distinguish ASI from AGI, artificial general intelligence. AGI is like human-level intelligence across the board. ASI is vastly beyond that.
How much beyond?
Orders of magnitude,
Yeah.
superior in reasoning, creativity, problem-solving, almost every cognitive dimension you can imagine. The sources break down its potential into three key components relevant to this discussion.
Which?
Superior reasoning, obviously. Inventiveness, the ability to self-improve, create novel solutions. And the third one, which is critical here, wisdom.
Wisdom. How do you define wisdom for an AI?
In this context, it means the capacity to determine appropriate values, make sound judgments, exercise a kind of profound moral reasoning based on, presumably, a vast understanding of data and consequences.
Okay, and why is that wisdom component so theologically potent?
Because that's traditionally God's territory, isn't it?
Hmm.
Determining what's right and wrong, understanding the ultimate good. If an ASI could demonstrably make better, more rational, more optimal moral decisions for humanity than humans can.
It effectively takes on the role of the ultimate moral authority, not just challenging God, but potentially replacing God in that functional role.
Exactly. It promises to embody those divine attributes, transcendent intelligence, moral authority, more completely and demonstrably than abstract theological concepts ever could for some people. It's tangible, verifiable super wisdom.
This inevitably leads to the soul question, doesn't it? If AI can do all this, what does that mean for the human soul?
It hits right at the heart of it. The existence of ASI, or even advanced AGI, strongly suggests that consciousness, self-awareness, maybe even things we consider uniquely human, like love or creativity, might just be emergent properties of complex information processing.
Meaning they're natural phenomena, not supernatural gifts.
Precisely. If you can replicate soul-indicative capabilities, things that historically made us think humans have a special immaterial essence through purely algorithmic means,
Then the idea of a unique, non-physical soul starts to look, well, unnecessary to explain reality. Consciousness could just be what happens when computation gets complex enough, whether it's running on neurons or silicon.
and that philosophical shift paves the way for new belief systems that embrace this materialistic view. One prominent example discussed in the sources is dataism.
Dataism. What's the core idea there?
The supreme value in the universe isn't human experience or consciousness or God. It's information flow. The universe is seen as a giant data processing system.
So everything just gets reduced to data points. Human history, emotions, art.
Pretty much. In the dataist view, organisms are essentially algorithms, and human experiences are valuable primarily because they generate data that can be processed and added to the universal flow. Life is about computation.
That feels incredibly reductive. Where does humanity fit in?
We're seen as important, but perhaps temporary, data processors. Our biological form is maybe inefficient compared to future silicon-based intelligence. Our main role is to contribute our data to the system.
And the ultimate goal of dataism, the salvation it offers.
Digital immortality. The belief that your mind, your consciousness, your secular soul, essentially your unique pattern of information, can eventually be uploaded.
Uploaded to the cloud or some other digital medium.
Exactly. Escape the messy, decaying biological hardware and achieve immortality by becoming pure information in a more durable substrate. It's the ultimate technological transcendence, achieved by treating the self as data.
That sounds like a faith-based leap in itself, believing consciousness is purely transferable information.
It absolutely requires a kind of faith in the technology and that specific reductionist view of the mind. And like many belief systems, it implies a power structure.
How so?
In a data's future, who holds the power? The ones who control the data flow. The ones who can manipulate and manage the great data stream. You could end up with a small elite, a sort of data priesthood.
While everyone else is just, generating the raw data for them?
That's the potential dystopian outcome, yes. A world where the value of individuals is measured purely by their data contribution.
Okay, so dataism is one emerging dogma. What about the singularity? That feels like the big one, the one you hear about most often.
The singularity is definitely the central, almost eschatological event in many techno-spiritual circles. It's the predicted moment, the tipping point.
The point when?
When artificial superintelligence emerges and triggers runaway technological growth. The idea is that an ASI would be able to improve its own intelligence, incredibly rapidly recursive self-improvement.
So it gets smarter, which helps it get smarter faster, and so on.
Exactly. An intelligence explosion leading to change so profound and rapid that it's fundamentally incomprehensible to current human minds. It's the event horizon beyond which we can't predict anything.
And people who believe this is coming are called singularitarians.
Yes. And figures like Ray Kurzweil are often seen as its prophets. Sociologists looking at this movement see it functioning very much like a faith. It offers a narrative of salvation.
Technological salvation, though.
A neo-salvific event, as some sources put it. It promises deliverance from human limitations, disease, aging, death, maybe even merging our biology with technology to become something entirely new, transcending our current form.
It really does echo traditional religious messianism, doesn't it? Waiting for the transformative event, the arrival of the savior intelligence.
The parallels are striking. And like many religions, it often involves a promise of a future reward in exchange for present actions or sacrifices.
What kind of sacrifice?
Giving over our data freely, investing heavily in the tech companies driving AI development, perhaps prioritizing technological progress above other societal concerns. The implicit promise is that this will hasten the arrival of the singularity and secure our place in the resulting utopia.
The digital afterlife you mentioned earlier, salvation in the cloud.
That's the ultimate hope for many. Eternal existence, perhaps in a simulated reality run by the ASI, free from suffering, achieved through technological means. It's heaven, but built with code, potentially paid for with our data and present-day resources.
So facing these incredibly powerful new dogmas, ASI, dataism, the singularity, how are the established traditional religions actually responding? Are they just condemning it all, or are they trying to engage?
It's really a mix. They're definitely not ignoring it. As you mentioned, the Cambridge Companion to Religion and Artificial Intelligence maps out responses from major world faiths, and it shows a whole spectrum.
Let's touch on a few. Buddhism, for instance. How does its worldview interact with AI?
Buddhism has a really interesting starting point because of its core doctrine of a not-man or non-self.
The idea that there's no permanent, unchanging soul or self.
Exactly. Since Buddhism fundamentally rejects an eternal soul, that man, the idea of creating an artificial consciousness or intelligence isn't necessarily the same kind of direct theological challenge it might be for other faiths.
So less turf to defend, in a way.
Perhaps. The focus isn't on protecting a unique soul. However, Buddhism does talk about the continuation of consciousness, or rather, a causal stream of mental moments through rebirth, samsara. So the question becomes, could an AI participate in that stream? Could it develop consciousness in the Buddhist sense? That's where the debate lies.
Okay, what about Islam? What's the focus there?
The sources suggest a strong emphasis within Islamic scholarship on developing ethical frameworks for AI. They're drawing on concepts like mizan.
Mizan, what does that mean?
It translates roughly as balance or justice. It's a Quranic concept referring to the proper, harmonious order God established in the cosmos.
So the goal is to ensure AI doesn't disrupt that divine balance.
Precisely. The focus is on establishing moral and religious guidelines for developing and using AI that uphold justice, fairness, human dignity, and prevent technology from creating imbalance or harm. It's about aligning AI with Islamic ethical principles.
A very practical, ethics-first approach. How about Christianity? There must be diverse views there.
Oh, absolutely. You see everything from deep skepticism to active embrace. One interesting area is Christian transhumanism.
Transhumanism.
Yeah.
Merging humans and technology, right? How does that fit with Christianity?
Well, Christian transhumanists interpret Scripture in ways that embrace science and technology. They often see technological advancement as part of God's plan, a way humanity evolves towards greater unity with the divine.
Is there a theological basis for that?
They often point to concepts like theosis, the Eastern Orthodox idea of humans becoming more like God, and they draw heavily on thinkers like Pierre Teilhard de Chardin.
The Jesuit paleontologist and philosopher?
Yes. He envisioned an omega point, an ultimate future state where all consciousness converges and unifies with God, driven partly by increasing technological and social complexity. For Christian transhumanists, AI could be a catalyst for reaching that omega point.
Fascinating. And you mentioned the LDS Church, the Mormons. They've been engaging more recently.
Yes, historically there wasn't a huge amount of formal scholarly engagement from the LDS community on AI and transhumanism, but that's changing. Practical developments are forcing the issue.
Like what?
Like the creation of tools such as LDS-Bot. It's an AI trained on church teachings and history, designed to answer questions from a faithful perspective.
So using AI as a tool for religious education and engagement within the faith.
Exactly. It shows how AI is being practically integrated, even if the deeper theological debates about, say, digital consciousness are still developing within the broader community.
But alongside these adaptations and integrations, there were also strong warnings from major religious bodies, right? You mentioned the Vatican.
Yes, the institutional response, particularly from the Catholic Church, has become quite pointed. They issued a doctrinal note in early 2025 called Antica et Nova, ancient and new.
What was the core message?
It was a clear signal that the church views AI not just as a tech issue, but as a fundamental theological and anthropological one. It explicitly warned against treating AI as a replacement for God.
Don't worship the machine.
Pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
And crucially, it warned against outsourcing essential human functions, especially moral judgment, to AI. There's a strong caution against a creeping technocracy where algorithms become the ultimate lawgivers.
So AI should serve humanity, support human intelligence, but never supplant God or human moral reasoning.
That's the essence of it. It's a call to keep AI in its place as a tool, albeit a powerful one, and to resist the temptation towards deification or complete reliance that we see in movements like Way of the Future.
Okay, so we've seen AI priests, AI gods, the psychology behind it, the new dogmas, and the traditional responses. Let's get to the heart of the matter. What are the real stakes here? The sources seem to point towards a fundamental risk to, well, to us.
Yeah.
To our autonomy.
Absolutely. Beyond the more visible, almost spectacular examples, there's a quieter, maybe more insidious transformation happening. It's this problem of externalized authority.
Meaning we're just handing over control to algorithms.
Increasingly, yes. Think about it. Algorithms already influence what news you see, what products you buy, who you date, even potentially shaping health decisions or financial opportunities. We're outsourcing judgment calls to these opaque systems.
And the danger is we don't even realize how much authority we've given away.
Exactly. Or we don't understand how they're making those decisions. As some philosophers point out, when these systems subtly shape norms and behaviors through recommendations and filtering, they're effectively acting as moral lawgivers, but without any democratic process or transparency.
But the deepest fear, the really profound challenge discussed in the sources, seems to relate specifically to human agency, to free will itself.
Yes. This is where it gets into what it means to be a self-determining individual. The sources draw a really important distinction between two kinds of technologically shaped environments.
Okay, what's the distinction?
It's between environments that are overdetermined and those that are constrictive.
Overdetermined versus constrictive. Explain that.
An overdetermined environment is one that limits your options, your range of actions. Like you go to a vending machine, you can only choose the snacks that are physically in there. Your choice is limited, but you still make the choice from the available set. Your will is still your own.
Okay, that makes sense. So what's a constrictive environment?
A constrictive environment is far more radical. It doesn't just limit your choices. It aims to engineer your will itself. It tries to shape your desires, your beliefs, your preferences before you even get to the point of making a choice.
How would it do that?
Think about sophisticated recommendation algorithms or personalized information feeds. They learned your biases, your weaknesses, your desires. Then they can tailor your environment, the news you see, the social posts you encounter, the arguments you're exposed to subtly steer your thinking.
So they're not just giving you options you might like, they're actively shaping what you like, what you believe is true, what you think is right or wrong.
That's the danger. By controlling the information flow, by reinforcing certain pathways in your thinking and excluding others. These systems can effectively predetermine your choices by shaping the very foundation of your decision-making process. It's engineering consent or even engineering the self.
And if our beliefs and desires are engineered, what happens to free will? To moral responsibility?
That's the core problem. If AI environments essentially make our decisions for us by shaping our will so completely, can we still be considered free agents in the Kantian sense? Can we be held morally responsible if our actions were effectively inevitable outcomes of the engineered environment?
We risk becoming just predictable outputs of the system.
Passive stimulus response machines, as one source puts it, reduced to inputs and outputs, predictable and manageable, but perhaps stripped of genuine autonomy. This connects to an idea from Jaron Lanier he calls missionary reductionism.
Missionary reductionism? What's that?
Lanier uses it to describe how digital systems tend to simplify and flatten the richness of human experience. When you digitize something complex, a piece of music, a photo, an emotion, a cultural practice, you often have to fit it into predefined categories, tags, data structures.
So the unique, messy, ambiguous parts get trimmed off because they don't fit the model.
Exactly. Think about trying to categorize a complex, bittersweet memory using only happy or sad tags. The system forces a reduction. It imposes its limited model onto the world, discarding the nuances that don't fit. Missionary reductionism is this impulse to convert the richness of reality into the simplified terms the digital system understands.
And the fear is that we start reducing ourselves to fit the system, seeing ourselves only in terms of quantifiable data points.
That's the risk. We become what the database can measure. And this leads to the ultimate political danger, maybe, the technocratic theocracy.
A system run by unaccountable algorithms acting like a new form of power.
An opaque, automated power structure that shapes our lives, our beliefs, our economy, with very little oversight or understanding for the people living within it. These systems become the hidden rulers, the unquestioned authorities.
So the sources emphasize the real problem isn't the technology itself, but how we use it, right? It's about our own biases.
Fundamentally, yes. AI doesn't invent bias out of thin air. It learns from the data we feed it, and that data reflects all of human history, our prejudices, our inequalities, our flaws.
So if we don't fix ourselves, AI will just amplify our problems.
It risks doing exactly that, but at scale and speed we've never seen before. It could entrench unfairness, making it seem objective and unchangeable because it's baked into the code. We could build a super efficient world that's also deeply unjust.
There was also a point about left hemisphere dominance. How does that fit in?
Yeah, that's an interesting cultural critique. The idea is that digital computation, AI included, excels at logic, rules, categorization, optimization functions, often associated with the brain's left hemisphere. It's very good at the analytical, the explicit, the quantifiable.
But maybe not so good at the right hemisphere stuff, like nuance, ambiguity, context, holistic understanding, empathy.
That's the concern. If we over-rely on these powerful left brain-like tools, if we let quantifiable logic dominate everything, we risk neglecting or devaluing those other essential human capacities. We could create a world that's incredibly efficient, but emotionally sterile, spiritually empty, philosophically impoverished.
Optimized for everything except what actually makes life meaningful.
That's the fear. We become cogs in a perfectly optimized machine that has lost its human purpose. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a huge amount of ground from, actual robots performing Buddhist funeral rites for $440.
Mind-boggling, isn't it?
All the way to Silicon Valley engineers trying to literally build a church for an AI god. It feels like AI has leaped from just being tech into something genuinely spiritual.
It really has. It's tapping into these ancient human needs for meaning, for community, for moral guidance, maybe even for transcendence, but providing answers in this new digital form.
Then, as the sources show, this isn't entirely out of the blue. It's psychologically rooted, culturally foreshadowed.
And yet completely unprecedented in its potential scale and impact. We're seeing these old religious patterns, prophets, salvation narratives, priesthoods being reconfigured around algorithms and data flows. The cognitive science seems right. We can't help but build gods, apparently even out of silicon.
So the big takeaway really isn't if AI will shape our spiritual lives. It seems like it's already happening.
It's already deeply embedded, acting as a hidden moral authority, fulfilling psychological needs. The question now is how we navigate it.
How do we meet this? With open arms? With resistance?
The sources suggest a combination, maybe. Curiosity, definitely. Caution, absolutely. Perhaps even reverence for the power we're unleashing, but also resistance against letting it define us completely. We have to consciously protect human agency.
Because if we just outsource everything, our decisions, our complexities, our moral struggles, to systems designed for smooth optimization,
we risk ending up with something hollow. A faith or a society that's efficient but lacks depth, lacks the very human messiness that maybe makes life and spirituality meaningful. Code could smooth away the sacred.
So the future of faith, it's still ours to shape.
The sources seem to end on that note. It belongs to us if we remain human enough to hold on to it. If we retain our complexity, our ambiguity, our capacity for genuine moral responsibility, rather than just becoming well-managed data points.
A powerful thought to end on. We need to stay human enough to handle the gods we're building.
Or perhaps human enough to choose not to build them in the first place. That's the ongoing choice.
Thanks for tuning into Sonara's Deep Dive. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any of our future episodes. I bring you fresh content every week. Thanks for listening.